Today we are meeting James Hogg. James and his sister Sarah are co-directors of GW Caravan Services, an NCC approved caravan workshop. The business started in 2006 and developed out of their parents' caravan salvage and insurance repair business. These days it is a Swift approved workshop, and in March this year the company was runner-up in the NCC approved workshop awards. I started by asking James about the National Caravan Council's approved workshop scheme.
The approved workshop scheme has been around for many years. I think initially it was administered by the AA, and then it went to an independent company, and the standards I don't think were enforced particularly highly. So the NCC got their hands on it a few years ago and have really shaken things up and been a lot stricter with the criteria that people have to fulfil to be in the scheme. There are minimum competency requirements with regard to gas and electrical installations and testing. We're inspected every year to make sure that the facilities are adequate, health and safety wise, for members of the public, members of staff, and that basically there's a very stringent criteria that we have to fulfil. And like I say, it's the benchmark of the industry really. Anybody, in theory, you should have confidence in anybody that's in the scheme that they are competent to do a full service and maintenance on a caravan or motor.
Given the financially straitened times we live in, skimping on the service might be something some people are considering. So I asked whether there was any legal requirement to have caravans serviced.
No legal requirements as such. Everybody has a duty of care to the people around them. So in the same way that if you were to have a car that's under 3 years old, there's no legal requirement to have an MOT or service on it before it's 3 years old, but you still couldn't run around with it on bald tyres, you know. So there's still a responsibility of the owner to make sure that many elements of the caravan are fit for purpose and not going to endanger themselves or people around them.
So, although not a legal requirement, it is certainly necessary for the purposes of keeping the caravan warranty valid, as James explains.
We're Swift approved, and Swift are quite generous with their service time you can have. 90 days before or 60 days after the anniversary of the purchase date. So that's
that's a good whack, isn't it? Yeah.
5 months, nearly half the year that you've got to work around it. So if somebody's purchased a Swift caravan towards the end of the year, then if they're sort of clever, they can sort of try and drag it in as late as possible within that space and early into the next year.
Yeah. But they do need to make sure that they're within that and don't just be too clever and then find they can't get it in because you're all booked up or something.
Exactly, yeah. And an important note is that often third service has to be done prior to the anniversary of the purchase date. It can't be afterwards.
Yeah. There's clearly a lot of training required to be a member of the approved workshop scheme, but one of the important things about having your van serviced at an approved workshop is that it makes the service valid for the purposes of the manufacturer's warranty, as James explains.
The approved workshop scheme is supported by all UK manufacturers of caravans and motorhomes. So any NCC approved workshop can service a caravan and the warranty will be honoured. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can do the warranty work.
Right.
It might have to go back to a dealer of that particular manufacturer of caravan to have the warranty work done. But something important to bear in mind is, say we're a Swift approved workshop, but say we had an eldest caravan that had an issue with a water heater, say a Truma water heater. Because we are Truma approved, we could do the warranty work on the water heater. It wouldn't have to go back to an eldest dealer because the warranty is effectively directly with Truma. So it's only really the things that the caravan manufacturer have screwed together, and water ingress issues, things like that, where it might have to go back to a dealer of that particular manufacturer.
So how long should a caravan service take, and is it fair to compare the cost of a caravan service with the cost of a car service?
We're looking at 3 to 4 hours for a service. 3 hours, we have the luxury here of having a 4-poster lift, so we're nicely in the dry, so we can get a caravan in, and it's a lot more convenient. We can do a lot of the underbody checks and running gear servicing up in the air. So we're looking at 3 hours to 3.5. A car service and a caravan service are two very different things. There are elements within a caravan service that are service items, say the chassis and running gear. But we've also, a caravan is a gas installation bobbing down the road, it's an electrical installation bobbing down the road. And so, for one, the qualifications that caravan fitter, an all-round caravan fitter has to have are quite extensive. And we're not just checking the mechanics of it, we're checking and testing the gas installation, we're testing the electrical installation, we're testing the structure of the caravan by doing a water ingress check and report. So it's a very different animal, I think, and the costs involved. The one similarity probably is that where if you take your car to a main dealer, you'll be charged a certain price. If you take your car to a specialist of that particular brand of car, you might be charged another price. And if you take it to just a small independent workshop down the road, you'll be charged a very different price. Same applies really in the caravan trade, that you would expect to pay more at a dealer. You'd expect to pay a little bit less at an independent NCC approved workshop. And if somebody isn't part of any particular scheme and just does it because they enjoy it, or they've not felt it necessary to become a part of the scheme, so haven't invested in the qualifications and the time and money involved in accomplishing that, then they will probably charge quite a lot less. So that's probably the only similarity.